Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Jason Anthony here, and I'm glad to see you guys today. Now, those clips that you guys just saw were before and after shooting SLOG2 footage on a video shoot that I was doing out in Vegas last week. So that's why I wasn't around so much, but now I want to make a new SLOG2 video. You guys crushed my last SLOG2 video, all your likes, all your comments, and I'm glad I was able to help you out, whether it was exposing properly or editing. Now, we went over the tone curve and how important it is in the last video, so if you guys want to check it out, you could go check it out right here. However, I've been doing different editing styles with SLOG2 footage. I want to show you what I've been doing lately with it, using some powerful LUTs that I'm really liking, and overall how I really like to bring out more detail, more color, and make my footage pop. Now, SLOG2 has so much dynamic range, and you could really protect the highlights and get significant detail out of the shadows if done correctly. So I just want to show you guys an updated version on how I'm editing my SLOG2 footage, and I think you guys will like it. So let's dive into Adobe Premiere so I can show you my new editing techniques when it comes to SLOG2 footage and how I really like to bring out the color and detail. All right, everybody, so we are up in Adobe Premiere in the editing tab. So the first thing we're going to want to do, if you haven't checked out my other editing tutorials, is click on the color tab on the top and make sure you're clicked on the luminetry scopes right here. These scopes are very important. I'm not going to go into super depth on them. You guys could check out my other SLOG2 video, but if you right click or double click in here, make sure your vector scope, YUV's up, histogram, RGB parade, and the waveform, because we're going to be referring to these throughout the video. The next thing we want to do is make sure we have an adjustment layer. If you don't know what adjustment layers are, you're going to click right here. We're going to go to adjustment layer and make sure you pick the same timestamp as your sequence. In my case, it's 24 frames per second. And then we're just going to drag on adjustment layers. Now, the best thing about adjustment layers is they're non-destructive to your video footage. So what that means is any edits that we make on adjustment layers will not affect the footage underneath it. So that's why we use them. And there's a bunch of cool things we could do. For another time, I'll talk about that, but let's just make sure we have adjustment layers on all of our footage so I could toggle before and afters of each edit. All right, so I'm gonna finish that right here. We're gonna cut. I'm sorry if this part's gonna be long, but I wanna talk about this a little bit in depth. So let's start with the first clip right here. So we're gonna click on our adjustment layer, and on the right-hand side, we have the different tabs. Just like my original SLOG video, we're gonna start with an adjustment curve on the tone. So we're gonna pull it a little bit down, and we're keeping an eye on this right here. And then we're gonna bring the mids right up, and we're gonna leave the highlights. So already, if I toggle back and forth, you can see this is coming to life. And the next thing I'm gonna do is go to basic correction, and we're gonna bring our blacks down. Now, notice that as you're dragging the blacks down, these are the darks right here. 0 is 100% black, 100 is completely white, and we want them to just sit right above each one. So we have the blacks right there, and now we're going to stretch the shadows down a little bit and really bring that detail, pulling it together. And now we're going to boost the highlights up. So here's our main highlight area, and we want to bring that up. So we're going to bring the highlights up a little bit, and same with the whites. And now we're gonna add a little bit more contrast, and look at that waveform. It's stretching out nice. Now, if we toggle back and forth, there is a huge significant difference right away. Next thing we wanna do is go over to saturation. And this is all depending on what you like. So I usually go anywhere from 130 to 150. And right away, if I toggle on this, it looks great. Now I'm going to show you guys how to use a LUT real quick. So I'm going to delete that adjustment layer, drag on a new one. Now there's two types of LUTs. We have LUTs meant for log footage, and then we just have LUTs that are set for colors where you still have to add contrast and the tone curve. So in this case, I'm going to go over to my creative tab and go to one of my favorite LUTs. I've used this in previous videos, and that is the water LUT. So we have the SLOG2 right here, and boom, instantly this comes to life. Now we can go to the intensity, drag it back and forth, only use a little bit, and we'll stay at about 70. We could add some vibrance right here, a little bit more saturation, and then we could still work off of this LUT. So if I want to, I could continue going down, adding a tone curve. And what this does is pretty much just saves me time for coloring the oranges and the teals and stuff like that. So LUTs are really cool as a foundation for starting off for your colors. So if I was to go ahead and do this real quick, this is how my edit would be using the LUT right here. So just gonna do the same exact thing, and with a little bit of tweaking. This is the before and this is the after. Play it through, and that's really it for the first clip. And for the next clip, once again, if we look at the top, we're barely clipping the highlights, and that's why I love SLOG2, because of the dynamic range. I still have detail in my clouds. So I'm going to click on here. We're going to go to curves, and once again, I'm going to do a little bit of a tone curve, a little bit of a S without messing with the top. So if I toggle, right away we're adding some contrast. Now we're going to go back to the basic correction. I'm going to drop the blacks down, because notice how we're lacking in the shadows and black area. So we want to pull and stretch out this waveform right here. So I'm going to grab on the shadows, and we're going to pull the shadows down. And because I'm almost clipping the highlights, I want to bring the whites down as well. Right about there. We could even bring back the shadows. Add a little bit more contrast. And this is so fast what I'm doing right now, guys. Like, this is ridiculously fast. I normally wouldn't go this fast, but I just want to show you the power of log footage and how you can edit it. So if I toggle back and forth, look at the difference. We have the orange popping, we have the pink, the sky, everything is coming to life. And it's really, there's no noise whatsoever in my footage. There is no noise at all. Look at that. So what the main part of this is, and I'm going to refer to my original SLOG2 video, we're exposing for the shadows. So that's why we're exposing at 2 stops over, so that we could go back and post if we want to. Some people like to drop this a little bit because they were overexposing. And right there, I mean, we could do a lot with this footage. It's amazing. Now we can go over into creative, and we can add a LUT. We could play with the split toning right here. So if I want to have the highlights a little bit more warmer, I can drag this up. If I want to add a little bit of cool into the shadows, we could drag this down, and then we could even favor one side over the other. So if we want it to be really warm, like a desert day, I mean, we could go this way, and the foreground's nice and warm. Or we could just go ahead and put it in the middle, but I like keeping the colors true to like that environment. So if it's super hot out and sunny, throw some warmth in there. And there's other ways you could do this as well. We could go to the color wheels and add some different tints to our highlights, shadows, and mids. There's a lot of really cool stuff that we can do. And let me just show you another LUT on this. So I'm going to delete this right here, go back to creative, drag this on, and let's see what LUT, not that one. Let's try the humble LUT. I love this LUT right here. So boom, right there. We could change once again the intensity, but let's do this real quick. Pull the tone curve right there, and immediately the color is just popping and coming to life. Let's pull these shadows, let's pull these highlights down. Bring the blacks down. The shadows. play it back. Add a little bit more contrast, get that real contrasty look to it. And then if we want to, we can even add a film faded look. And as you guys could see, look at that sky, it's popping. We have some lost data in our highlights, but we could just bring these down, bring the whites down. If we toggle on and off, it is that quick, guys. Like, I don't know why people are so scared of color grading their footage. All right, and now for my next clip, I'm just gonna edit this with a LUT to show you guys how powerful LUTs are. So we can go over here. Let's try the warmth LUT out. All right, so let's not be scared. Let's see how we could do this if I'm working with this LUT right here. Watch it come to life. So we're gonna drop this down right here and bring this up. Gonna add a little bit of coolness into it. We are gonna drop the whites down because they're touching 100 and we do not want them touching. We're gonna pull the highlights down. Take the shadows. The blacks we're pulling down. And guys, I'm doing this so fast. It's literally just sitting here and playing with your footage. Now, if we want, we could go creative and just drop it back a little bit. And right away, this is usable. Right here, in my opinion, this could be used. With a little bit more time spent on it, that's the before, this is the after. Really comes to life. And we didn't even play around with the vibrance and the saturation. Like, look at this clip. And that took me seconds. Now, obviously, you're going to want to sit here and be a little bit more mindful of your edit, but just showing you guys, like, SLOG2, we still have detail. I mean, I love it. I mean, that's all I could say. All right, we got this other clip right here. Let's see if the water LUT works again. So we're going to go over here. Instantly, I mean, it's night and day. Bring this down. And I hope you guys are getting the point to all this. I mean, it's really not that hard. You just got to be a little patient. You got to sit here. I sit here and I just mess around and play around with everything. Let's drop the highlights a little bit. And we're just literally stretching the waveform. So notice how the waveform is completely bunched up. All we want to do is stretch it out like that. And now for my last clip, I'm going to do this without a LUT. So we're going to go to the tone curves and let's see if we could get this green to really pop. That's my goal right now. So we're going to go over here, boost this saturation. Already, with saturation and a slight curve, this is coming to life. I'm going to pull the shadows down. Pull the whites down. Push the highlights a little bit up. Play this back. Okay. Let's pull the blacks down a little bit. And now I'm going to split tone this real quick. So we're going to go over to creative. I want the highlights right over here to be warmer. Just going to add some warmth. The shadows. Little bit of a coolness. And then I'm even going to add a little bit of warmth. Like that. And there we have it. We have this beautiful golden look to this footage right here. After, before. Before, after. It's that simple, guys. Now that wraps up today's video on how I like to edit SLOG2 footage. If you guys learned anything new, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any pointers or tips that I didn't specify, also let me know those, because I'm always looking at learning new editing techniques, especially when it comes to log footage, because it can be a little tricky at times. If you guys want, we could chat on Instagram. I'll also link that in the description below. A bunch of you guys were super active on there and I love talking to you guys. So that's really it for today's video. I hope it was helpful. Till next time, guys, I'm Jason Anthony. Peace.